The water was well over all of these trees, even these lights were under. Yeah, this is probably a good indication the water was at the top of the railing here.
It's 3 months since floodwater swept through Gavin Fletcher's uninsured home. His front yard became an inland sea, entering his raised house and causing devastation.
Catastrophic, really. Everything under the house, in the workshop, upstairs, covered in a goo of mud, and yeah, you just don't know where to start, basically.
Before the peak hit, Gavin scrambled to save expensive tools at his Bundamba property about 45 minutes southwest of Brisbane. He loaded them into a van and raised it high on a hoist.
The water went right up to the roof here, 4.5 metres or something, and still just destroyed everything.
Now Gavin faces the daunting task of finding the money to fix the extensive damage. The Fletchers haven't always been uninsured. They had cover during the 2011 floods. After that, they found their premium became unaffordable despite shopping around.
Every day it's a concern that something could happen, and which it did, obviously.
Where we've seen in areas that are very flood prone, people have opted out of their flood insurance, which leaves them completely exposed and vulnerable. It's why we've been saying to the government we need to look at ways of reducing the risk.
The massive floods in February and March wreaked havoc across southeast Queensland before hitting northern New South Wales, causing record-breaking destruction.
Which has rewritten all records for floods in Australia. It's now the fourth most costly natural disaster event in our nation's history, with a $4.3 billion price tag of losses.
A recent Climate Council report claims extreme weather events could make insurance too expensive for many by 2030. The report predicts parts of the country will become uninsurable.
Right across Australia, the number is 1 in 25, but in individual areas, it might be as high as 9 in 10, 90% of properties at risk of being uninsurable.
The biggest risk to properties is flooding of river systems, and those most at risk live in 5 federal electorates across northern Victoria, northern New South Wales, and 3 parts of Queensland.
Naturally, if you're very close to a large river system, and even the downstream smaller rivulets, creeks, that's where the biggest risks are. Except, of course, now these floods are getting higher and more frequent.
Insurers have recorded a staggering underwriting loss on home insurance of $420 million in the past 2 years. The huge cost of these floods could be a factor in future premium increases.
Inflation is having a big impact on insurance. Globally, reinsurance costs have gone up. Locally, the cost of rebuilding and supply materials and trade and labour have all gone up. So there is an upward pressure on insurance premiums at the moment in this country.
Well, we watched the water slowly come up step by step by step by step, and eventually, we weren't here when it peaked, but the actual water came to that height, enough to do maximum damage on the inside of the house.
Tony Fawkes and his wife Diane are living in their flood-ravaged home in the Brisbane suburb of Rocklea. The kitchen, bathroom and walls all need replacing, and many of their possessions were destroyed. They've turned their garage into a makeshift kitchen and living room.
I feel as though we're just living in limbo, like we don't know where to go or what to do. And we've got to live down here, and it's getting cold. It's really cold.
They took out a policy with Suncorp shortly before the flood. Paying for insurance is a struggle.
The insurance policy is just over $7,000 per year. And I'm 73 years old. We live from week to week. We don't have savings in the bank. And we'd like to retire. But now we've got a house that's unlivable.
Everything about Queensland's way of life is worth protecting, which is why Suncorp Insurance...
In a statement, Suncorp said it denied Mr Falk's claim because the flood damage occurred within 72 hours of him taking out the policy during the standard exclusion period. Suncorp has paid him $11,000 for temporary accommodation. Tony Falk says he was unaware of the exclusion period before making his claim.
I am nervous, but I really don't want to stay here. My feeling is we need to move on.
Yeah.
Diane and Tony are cleaning up after their second flood in just over a decade and know something needs to change before the next one. They've registered for a $740 million scheme jointly funded by Queensland and federal governments, which pays for property buybacks, raising of homes or making them more flood resilient. 2,600 people have applied.
$180, eh?
Yeah. Tony wants to relocate, I don't. I find that as we're getting older, the hospitals and everything are closer.
The Insurance Council has been pushing for substantial increases in government funding to improve resilience against future extreme weather events.
We were very pleased when the Albanese government made a commitment during the election campaign of investing the $200 million a year from a federal level required. That needs to be matched by the various states and territories.
I think our planning system really needs to be looked at very carefully. There is a great degree of responsibility there that has allowed developers, people to build on floodplains, to build in dangerous areas without having the right mitigations in place.
Gavin Fletcher is also waiting to find out if he will receive government funding to buy back his house or raise it. Whatever happens, he's facing hard choices.
Unless we get a decent offer, I don't see myself moving anywhere too quickly. Just affordability and all that sort of thing.
Hi, I'm Lee Sales. Thanks for watching this story. If you'd like to watch more of 730's stories, they are on the left of your screen. And tap on the button below to subscribe and get the latest from ABC News.